Taiwan, I'm Eric Gao, bringing you the news from here in Taipei. Images have emerged of what appears to be a Chinese nuclear submarine surfacing close to one of Taiwan's outlying islands. Now, this incident happened early on Tuesday morning, with images taken by fishers who were working nearby. Reese Ayers has been following the story for us from Taipei. Reese, what do we know about the Chinese sub, and why is it so close to Taiwan-controlled islands?
Well, Eric, while we can't really know for sure, reports from the fishers from Penghu who photographed the submarine as it emerged from the waters, and analysis of the situation indicate that the Chinese submarine was forced up due to some issues with the vessel. After surfacing, it was quickly accompanied by some Chinese warships who then escorted it back to China, still on the surface, which is further evidence that it may have had some problems. Now, Taiwanese fishers say it's not uncommon for them to encounter Chinese military vessels whilst out on catches, but a submarine, now that's something quite unusual. Taiwan's Defense Minister Wellington Koo has said that Taiwan is on top of the situation in terms of intelligence and surveillance, but refused to say much more about any investigation, though he did call for restraint on both sides. Here's what he said.
那所以我们要时刻的警觉，但是我们也要不要惊慌啊，所以不要惊慌，也不要麻木不仁。这件事情的态度我们是很赞成的，我们一定要这一个冷静、理性的来妥适的应处这样子台海的这个情势。我们不作为挑衅的一方，但我们也呼吁中国不要成为麻烦的制造者。
Now, the waters in the Taiwan Strait are particularly shallow, which actually makes them quite good testing grounds for submarines, as they can resurface quite quickly if there's any kind of emergency. People analyzing the photos of the submarine, they seem quite sure that this is one of China's newest and most advanced subs, nuclear subs, capable of launching over a dozen missiles. They're also notoriously hard to detect. But whatever the reason for the incident this morning, it's a reminder for us here in Taiwan of China's near constant military presence around the island.
I'm sure the military here will be keeping a close eye on the situation. Thank you, Reese. That was Reese Ayers reporting on the Chinese sub spotted near Penghu. Meanwhile, Taiwan is wrapping up live-fire military exercises along the western coast of New Taipei. It's part of efforts to make the country's training as realistic as possible. But as Jaime Okan reports, there are concerns that many of its drills are too, well, scripted.
One by one, Taiwanese soldiers practice their shooting. They're trying to step up their training in a rare chance for them to use live ammunition on this public beach. Exercises like these are becoming more common due to pressure from neighboring China, which has threatened to invade Taiwan to bring it under its control. So Taiwan has now narrowed down potential areas where an attack could begin. This area is known as the Red Beach. That means Taiwan's military considers it a likely spot for China to land troops and begin an invasion. That's why the military is making sure it knows how to defend this coastline. This beach, known as Zhongfu Beach, is crucial for Taiwan's defense due to its proximity to the country's largest airport. The beach also sits between a major wind farm and one of Taiwan's largest ports. But what makes this area even more strategic is that it's only 20 kilometers away from the capital city of Taipei.
They want to land in the north so that they can rapidly attack and capture the capital. The problem is that, of course, the Taiwanese know that also and have a lot of their forces up in the north. So it is important to be able to hold the north so that if the Chinese are going to land, they'll land in the south, and that's a much more difficult campaign.
But as an island country, Taiwan's shores are on the front line. Just last week, a man from China arrived on Taiwan shores via speedboat, an event likely to increase scrutiny over the military's coastal defense strategy. Taiwan has recently taken training into public places like these to get troops familiar with how a potential war could be fought. But military analysts say the drills are not realistic enough.
Live fire on the actual beach is better, certainly, than shooting on a range. But still, if we're talking realistic and rigorous, we're talking about combat conditions. And I will simply tell you, under modern conditions of warfare, you do not want your troops laid out in a big line in a big open space like a beach, because they're just a natural target.
This lack of realistic training is concerning many analysts in the US who say Taiwan's military exercises are too scripted. One example is a decades-old exercise in which a team in red practices invading the port of Taipei, while a team in blue defends. But the problem here is that the blue team seems to always win.
The big exercises always seem to go back to red team, blue team, and red team is clearly following a script that blue team already has in advance, and that is just a very bad way to train your leaders to make decisions. You need to combine that very scripted training with also training which is not live fire, where you are allowing your leaders to make decisions and to respond to a thinking enemy that isn't just operating on a script.
Yet Taiwan's military is starting to incorporate more realistic training across the armed forces, and these live-fire drills are just a small part of it. Taiwan's military says the upcoming large-scale Hanguang exercises in July will have an unscripted element, a move in the right direction when facing such an unpredictable enemy. Annie Shui and Jaime Ocon in New Taipei City for TaiwanPlus.
A Taipei court has agreed that a Chinese man who illegally entered the country be held incommunicado. He breached Taiwan's borders on a speedboat, landing at the Danshui River, which is a gateway to the capital of Taipei. Authorities say the man, surnamed Gran, could be a flight risk or might try to destroy evidence. He is being investigated on suspicion of violating immigration rules and laws governing cross-strait affairs. Gran has said he wants to defect to Taiwan, but Coast Guard officials say he used to be a Chinese naval officer. A spate of police suicides has officials promising more mental health resources for officers. But discussing mental health is still taboo within the force, meaning it's difficult for some officers to get the help that they need. John Van Trieste has this report.
There's an uneasy reckoning going on in the law enforcement world. So far this year, 8 members of Taiwan's police force have died by suicide, most recently the deputy chief of this station in northern Taiwan, who took his life on Sunday. And this isn't terribly unusual. The past 4 years have seen 22 police suicides. After this latest death, officials have promised things are going to change. Exactly how much will be spent and when the money will come is unclear. And cash may not solve everything. This is a profession where seeking help can have consequences. Peer counselors are colleagues, and besides worries about their qualifications, there are also fears about how open people can be with them.
担心会被贴上标签，而且不能够保密，而且关老师是由远景监办，造成他们求助意愿可能会降低，因此很难发挥功能。
And even when professional therapists are available, officers who see them can expect doubts over their ability to handle a gun and face other career setbacks.
如果你今天有这样一个记录的话，会影响到你的考核，升迁也会影响嘛。比如像我问过那些比较高阶的，他说当然也会考量一下。
Meaning a difficult cultural shift may also be needed to get help to those who need it before it's too late. Patrick Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to touch down in Pyongyang for his first visit to North Korea in 24 years. Putin will meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during his 2-day trip. Russian media says the pair may sign a partnership agreement on trade and security. It's the latest sign of deepening ties between the two nuclear-armed states, which has raised international concern. A possible trade war is brewing between China and the European Union. In the latest salvo, China has opened an anti-dumping investigation into pork imported from the EU. The announcement comes a week after the European Commission said it would place steep tariffs on China's electric vehicles. China's investigation would mostly affect exports from the Netherlands, France, Denmark, and Spain, which are the top suppliers of pork to China. Now, one leading exporter insists that it will be able to overcome the difficulties brought on by these new tariffs.
Cuando se cerró el mercado ruso, no nos fuimos a llorar ni a la Unión Europea, ni nos fuimos a llorar ni al Ministerio de Agricultura, sino lo que hicimos es dar un paso hacia adelante y buscar esa diversificación. Entonces somos capaces de afrontar esos nuevos retos, esas dificultades, superarlas y convertir las amenazas en oportunidades.
Chip-making giant TSMC has halted construction of a new plant in southern Taiwan after cultural relics were found at the site. The project is set to house 2 advanced packaging plants to help supply cutting-edge AI chips. Joyce Zeng has more.
A standstill at global chip giant TSMC's new site in Chiayi County after historical artifacts were found in the ground, with more believed to be underneath.
我们已经邀请了文化资产的委员进行现场的勘查，也开了审议会。那委员呢，原则上呢同意呢抢救挖掘。
TSMC had just broken ground in May for its first of 2 plants here, on the grounds of an old sugar farm. The site will expand an already large local footprint for TSMC across Taiwan, as it quickly grows to keep its edge as the maker of almost all the world's most advanced chips.
每天差不多6点就开始赶工，有时候做到晚上差不多9点至10点这样。
Despite also growing its business in Japan, the US, and Germany, the firm is keeping its most advanced tech in Taiwan. The Chiayi site is set to house its cutting-edge 3D packaging technology called chip on wafer on substrate, or CoWoS for short. It essentially allows multiple chips, which used to sit on their own substrates, to be stacked onto one single package, cutting down on space and on power. It's a game changer for more complicated, more powerful chips, like those made by global AI chip leaders NVIDIA and AMD, that both use CoWoS tech. There's already a shortage of TSMC's CoWoS capacity, which is expected to last until 2025. With a temporary pause on Plant 1 because of the relics, TSMC could jumpstart building Plant 2 to meet the high demand.
目前因应这个状况呢，台积电它调整工序，就把 P2 厂同步启动建厂。那目前南科管理局全力来协助他们相关的申请。
With work on the first plant paused until all relics are cleared, the Bureau says starting Plant 2 early could help TSMC's overall plan stay on track, a clear sign that Taiwan is doing its best to keep up with high-tech demand, but not at the cost of preserving precious history. Devin Tai and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's last functioning nuclear plant is starting to power down. State power company Taipower says it's starting the shutdown process for the plant's first generator. The unit will be fully offline by July 27th. The second generator is set to be decommissioned next year. Taiwan is shutting down its nuclear plants as part of the government's nuclear-free homeland policy. 2 people have been injured after a ceiling collapsed at an elementary school in Chiayi down in southern Taiwan. School officials say a leak caused the ceiling of an auditorium to give way, and this happened in the middle of a graduation ceremony. The collapse injured 2 students' parents. They were taken to hospital and treated for head injuries. The auditorium has been closed temporarily. The Chiayi Education Department has asked the school to conduct a thorough inspection of those facilities to prevent similar incidents in the future.
学校一律再先行检修一下，是不是如果有漏水的部分，要先行做一个漏水处理哈，避免这个危险的事情再次发生哈。我们这边会督促学校来全面检视。
A retirement home for water buffalo in western Taiwan is saving the domestic animals from being slaughtered. Its founder, Li Zhangliang, has saved 3 of the animals so far and says he's applying to expand his facilities to take in at least 12. Ling funds his bovine retirement home by selling homegrown rice. He says he hopes that the sanctuary will help educate people about the domestic water buffalo and traditional agriculture. Water buffalo were once widely used across Taiwan as working animals before farming became more mechanized.
未来这会变做讲咱云林的水务安养中心以外，会阁变做当初时一寡退休的阿伯有无？伊遮的农具啊，阁牛车啦，犁啦，遮我会慢慢甲伊规划，讲是农村水务的迄种博物馆。
Thanks for watching What's Up Taiwan. And before we go, with the UEFA Euro 2024 tournament currently underway, check out this light show illuminating the Flores Brücke Bridge during a rehearsal in Germany. I'm Eric Gao. We'll see you later.